It came
professionally?
Well, professionally, I was at a crossroads and sort of still am, just coming into a new place in my own life and in my own career. I'm much more in control of my own career now and much more in control of the choices that I'm making. Everything was sort of in the process of changing, and Broadway was not something that was definitely in the foremost of my mind, and yet it was at the perfect time that it came.
And tell me about the change. I mean, this had to do with the relationship with your mother in terms of career management and those kind of things?
In terms of career management, yes. I chose to not have her manage my career anymore, to be just much more hands-on. It was as if prior to university, I had sort of one life and was very active in it, and then wasn't even sure if I wanted to continue in the industry when I finished school. I took about a year off and really thought about it. And
what did you think about doing?
I wasn't sure. You know, I'd gotten a degree in French literature. To the extent of using that, I wasn't even sure. I've always enjoyed writing, but first and foremost, I always wanted to be an actress. But when you've been in an industry since I had been for so many years, you need a new take on it, and I wanted to have a fresh view of it. And it took a while. I mean, it actually wasn't until about 2 years ago. I was preparing to have surgery, and I had to have foot surgery. And it was in that period of time that I was recovering that I decided really that I wanted to focus on the acting primarily and really just dedicate myself to it much more seriously.
You have the feeling that people are taking you seriously now who didn't before, who somehow looked on Brooke Shields as almost a character or creature they didn't really know, but didn't know had any talent other than. She'd gone to Princeton, she was bright, she'd gotten a degree from Princeton, but they didn't know what she had other than that modeling thing.
Very much so, and that perception, whether it was a projection or not, whether it was media hype, whether it was from a role or from, is very understandable. People were confused about me, and I think to a certain extent that's understandable.
Were you, go ahead.
But now they at least have something more tangible to judge, and what they come away with is now more legitimate. They can see it and say if they like it or if they don't like it. I can get credit for just being there and really committing to it, because you can't go through it easily. So I do feel a sense of respect that I don't even think I had for myself, and I don't think, had I not had that, I couldn't have expected it.
Explore that with me, the sense, because that was what I was curious about when this happened to you, whether, and when you're 29 now, 28, 29.
Right.
Whether,
you know, little yeah. Late learning, but that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, late starts are good. For someone who was in their first movie when she was, what, 11? And how were you?
9,
39.
Actually, yeah.
Was there a sense when you were in your 20s, after Princeton, after you were in New York, that you said, I may not do what I want to do. I may not make it. I may not, you know, I may not have the opportunity to be the actress I want to be.
I think that's what spurred a lot of the movement and a lot of the change in my life. I mean, I think as an actress, there's an innate fear anyway. Someone's going to find you out. Yeah. What if I don't get out there tonight and I won't do it?
What if
someone's going to find me out that I'm really not talented? Or, I mean, I think that's a continual fear that we always try to overcompensate for and continue to do better. But I just knew at the point that I was in my life that had I not decided to really, for lack of a better way of saying it, just go for it and
seize your own
commit
life
to it, that I would never know. You know, success is a very relative concept. I mean, one person's version of success could be completely different than another. And to me, being able to really commit to what I want and what I believe in as an actress and see where that takes me, that's my idea of success. And now I'll be the fear and the problem is being responsible for your own mistakes, which is something I've never had to do before.
Meaning, what do you mean?
When you're younger and you have a strong support system, my mother was a very strong support system for me in and of herself. I mean, we were a team. She's a buffer. She takes away a lot of the pain. She doesn't let a lot get to you. And as any mother would do for their child, in this industry, you need to get a bit stronger. And sometimes that means making your own mistakes or learning from
them. Was the leaving of her in terms of a professional way, so that she's not running your career, you're running your career, and William Morris is running your career, and whoever else is there running your career. Did it have any personal aspect to it in terms of any kind of estrangement from her?
Yes, there is an interim period that we
you're in
are
now?
even still going through now, and that is the only chance I believe that we have of having a personal relationship.
Does she understand it?
You know, she's trying to find her way as I am trying to find mine. I'm lucky that I have a place to be every night, 8 shows a week, that I know what to do for 2.5 hours. That's saved me. That's really grounded me and focused me. She's had nothing but me as her main focus for the past 29 years. So
she's been living her life in part through you and what was best for you.
Exactly, and there's no fault in any of that. There's no negativity put on that. It's just that it's in any relationship that changes or that grows, there's a period of adjustment, and we're in that now. But had we not had this professionally, I don't believe the personal would have been able to go to the next level.
And tell me what made you be able, have enough strength to do it. I mean, what was it that you had this support system, this dependence on your mother, and all of a sudden you said, I can't go on?
I think you do wake up at one point in your life and ask yourself. I mean, I had a period of about 3 months where I had surgery. I was recovering from broken feet.
Broken feet? Yeah.
From dancing too much. And I just dance spontaneously sometimes. And what had happened was I had quiet time where I wasn't running around, where I wasn't going to the next appointment. And I really asked myself what I wanted to do and how I wanted to change my life. And I wanted it to have more movement and change. And I knew that I don't want to not have responsibility, and I didn't want to not, you know, I went through university with that feeling, but I didn't have that feeling of confidence in my life, and I wanted it.
Was it your idea to go to Princeton or her idea for you to go to Princeton?
No, it was definitely my idea. I mean,
or, you know, wherever you wanted to go. I mean, I assume you chose Princeton because that was the school, but your idea was to go to college and get an education and study what interested you.
Both my parents, I mean, have always just been supportive of me in every facet. Academically, I had this vision of university and college and Ivy League and Princeton, and that was my sort of dream, my little white picket fence image that I wanted to follow through on, and they just supported me. I mean, thank goodness.
When you look back from the beginning, from Pretty Baby, was it Pretty Baby or Pretty
Baby?
Louis Malle's film.
Right.
Through the very close relationship to your mother, to being thrust into the spotlight very young, would you change that? Do you have any great regrets about the way it evolved for you?
I wouldn't change anything, good or bad, only because I can say that now who I am is very much I'm represent the fabric of all of that.
It came out at the end okay after a lot of trials.
Right, but I mean, as if in any struggle, I mean, no, this industry is not healthy for a young person. It can be very negative. It can also be incredibly rewarding. I think had I not gone to school, I never went to professional children's school, and had I not had that outlet as a conventional, quote-unquote, you know, life, I think I would have regretted. But because of that, I managed to have a balance, I feel. I mean, no, it wasn't easy, but not much in life is easy.
Is it easy being as beautiful as you are? Does that, you know, I mean, you've grown up as a model and Calvin and all that. With people saying, this is really one of the beautiful faces of our time.
I think if I could look at myself with other people's point of view or their eye, maybe I would understand it more. But it's very hard to buy into that.
You never bought into it. You never looked and said.
It's just really hard to look at yourself and marvel or paint a beautiful picture for yourself. I mean, it's just because I'm always trying to focus. I'm always struggling to do something else that's better, or feeling that I'm not quite up to par, or I'm just a perfectionist. And I think that the physicality of it, I mean, for a very long time, I just wouldn't even look in the mirror.
Because?
Because everybody's always doing it for you, and you sort of don't want to jump on that bandwagon.
You don't want to buy into that.
Yeah, I mean, and it, you know, it's been frightening, but now the more in tune that I've become, I mean, it sounds like a, you know, granola, but the more sort of in tune that I've become with who I am as a performer and as a person, the more accepting I am of myself physically, and the happier I am. I feel a lot less negative about myself physically the more confident I
Yeah,
become.
you feel a lot less
negative. I think that growing up, you just never,
Yeah.
you just can't really quite believe what other people tell you.
Where would you like to be at 35?
It's not too long from now. I would like to be married. I would like to have some children.
Anybody in particular?
Preferably the man I'm in love with.
Yeah. Tell me about that relationship. I mean, I'm a tennis fan, and I think I saw him at the U.S. Open, and I watched the Australian Open. I mean, he is playing spectacular tennis. I mean, it's really...
He's really...
It's a remarkable story of how he has gone from almost, what, 25th or 30th or whatever to be close to being #1 in the world.
Well, I think that he, you know, he's a very... I've learned a lot from him. I've learned a great deal about focus, about commitment, about following through on your own, with that lack of using a tennis term, but on what you believe in, and really committing to what he's been very supportive of me in Greece, and you know, seeing the play tons of times, but also just
he's seen it tons of times.
He has, but he's taught me really what focusing in and really committing to what you want to do. I mean, he had a similar. He's really come into his own on his own in a very strong way too, and I've learned from that.
Yeah. In other words, he's done in the last several years, even though he's been recognized as having enormous potential, it has only come to the real fore. Even though he won Wimbledon, it's only come to the fore in a major way.
Well, we all have these own he calls them landmines that we sort of step on whenever we go out into our arena, and you know, potential, expectation, parents, all of these things that sort of have a negative effect when we focus on them too much and we lose sight of ourselves, and we don't free ourselves up to reach our potential. I mean, I think you always continue to reach for your potential. I mean, I hope that I will.
How is he different from the sort of the glitz and the glamour that sort of accompanied him on his rise from Las Vegas?
Oh, he's the antithesis of image, of hype, of... He has a very...
That used to be the slogan of the ad, wasn't it?
Exactly, and I think that, you know, like, there's a very serious side to him. There's a very strongly moral, committed side to him that hasn't had a chance, but now it's ironic that and thank goodness, it's through his talent that he's gaining the respect, and that's wonderful. I mean, that's what I feel every time I go out on stage.
Same.
Yes, because that's mine. I mean, I have better nights. I'm stronger now than I was in the beginning. I have crummy nights, but
what makes a crummy night?
Oh, not supporting, for me, not being a singer, not supporting myself enough, and then kind of cracking at some point, or forgetting a line, or just being a little bit under par and not being sharp and clean during all my movements, which is just important to me, and consistency.
Yeah. You think you'll get married?
Oh, I wouldn't be in this relationship and as happy in it if I didn't have that in my heart.
It's great to see you, Brooke. I'm pleased to meet you, and much success to you. And Andre Agassi is an extraordinary athlete. Pleasure to have you on this broadcast, and person. I don't know him as a person, but I take your word for it. Thank you for coming, and much success.
Come see the play.
I'd love
Please.
to.